good, everybody? I'm Brandon. Today I'm about to do a video from All Things MMA. This one right here is titled 10 of the worst main events in UFC history. Y'all requested it. Don't trip me not. Got y'all. Something just got in my eye. Y'all, y'all requested it. Don't trip me not. Got y'all. So we're going to see 10 of the worst events. Main events. Damn. I wonder what happened. Either people was getting knocked out the first round or just like the fights were just horrible. And these were the main events as well. I'm ready to hop on into it. Y'all know I love these MMA and these UFC reactions. So yeah, keep requesting them. Also, shout out to all the people that's been listening to my EP. I fuck with you guys heavy. More music on the way. Yeah, man, I'm going hard. I'm actually going to the studio today to drop another song. Well, to finish another song. And that shit is fire, bro. It's hard as fuck. But yeah, man, I'm ready to hop into this video. Let's go.
Expand a little bit on your thoughts on how things went down?
The fight sucked. I don't know how to expand on it anymore. I mean, nobody can win or lose a fight when a guy is running around in circles. He was literally running. You know, I had some guys who were, you know, fans on Twitter and saying, whatever, great footwork. This isn't Dancing with the Stars. You know what I mean? You can't win a fight by running around in circles. It's not how fights are won.
Competing in a UFC main event is a tough spot to be in. It's a moment where the pressure is at its highest. Any number of factors can contribute to a fighter underperforming, whether it's due to the immense stress, a tough opponent, or simply having a bad night. And while many have shined bright under the spotlight, there have been a few occasions where fighters simply failed to move the excitement meter, whether that was due to their own performance or even factors outside of their control. So for this video, we'll be taking a look at a list of times in which main event fighters struggled to deliver a fan-pleasing performance. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, and ranked in no particular order, let's take a look at 10 of the worst main events in UFC history. Number 10. Anderson Silva versus DEMIAN MAIA. UFC 112 saw middleweight champion Anderson Silva look to make his 6th title defense against rising contender DEMIAN MAIA.
He wasn't really attacking him, right?
Silva entered as a massive favourite, having won all 10 of his fights inside the UFC. So it was no surprise that he was looking to make MAIA number 11. In theory, it was an exciting matchup between two totally different styles. You had the dynamic striker versus the submission specialist. In reality, it turned out to be one of the worst bouts in title fight history. While you could make an argument that MAIA at least tried to win the fight, you could not say the same for Anderson Silva. Rather than engage, Silva spent most of his time running around the cage and mocking DEMIAN MAIA. It even got so bad that the referee actually threatened to deduct points from Silva. While Silva may have gone on to win by a unanimous decision, his antics certainly didn't help him win any favour with the fans.
So the whole time he basically was just talking
Dana White even saying he was embarrassed by the behaviour and that he refused to wrap the belt around Silva's waist. Number 9. Randy Couture versus VITOR Belfort 2.
He's gonna talk about it all.
This is one of the few selections on this list where neither fighter was at fault for their disappointing main event. After capturing the light heavyweight title from Tito Ortiz back in 2003, Randy the Natural Couture was set to make his first title defense against VITOR Belfort. Heading into the fight, VITOR was coming off of an impressive first round knockout over Marvin Eastman and was eager to take his chance to dethrone Randy Couture at UFC 146.
Okay, so he had a first round knockout prior to this fight, so everybody thought he was a beast.
The fight didn't even make it past the first minute, as just 49 seconds in, VITOR Belfort threw a strike that ended up slicing Couture's left eye. According to doctors, VITOR's glove had sliced right through Couture's eyelid, causing blood to pour into his socket. As a result, the fight was immediately stopped, granting VITOR the win. It was a devastating ending that saw VITOR Belfort lay claim to the heavyweight title. Luckily, the two were able to run it back a few months later, with Couture winning the fight in a dominant fashion. Number 8. YAIR Rodriguez versus Jeremy Stephens 1. Like Randy Couture versus VITOR Belfort, this is another selection where neither fighter was to blame for their unfortunate ending. The main event of UFC Fight Night 159 featured a highly anticipated showdown between UFC vet Jeremy Stephens and rising talent YAIR Rodriguez. The two knockout artists were set to throw down in Mexico City, with the winner moving one step closer to a featherweight title shot. What was supposed to be an exciting fight ended up having one of the worst outcomes in recent memory. as just 15 seconds into the match, Stevens found himself on the receiving end of an eye poke from Rodriguez. Per the rules, the fight was stopped and Stevens was given a total of 5 minutes to recover. However, even after a 5-minute wait, Stevens still couldn't open his eye. The referee gave no choice but to call a stop to the fight, and the bout was ruled a no contest. Needless to say, fans were furious with the outcome, and could even be seen hurling objects into the octagon as well as at the fighters. Number 7. TYRON Woodley vs Stephen Thompson 2. Before it even began, UFC 209 got off to a disappointing start, when it lost its co-main event between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. The only fight that was really holding the card together was the main event, which featured a rematch between welterweight champion TYRON Woodley and Stephen Thompson. While UFC 209 delivered some exciting moments, the main event was certainly not one of them. Knowing the danger that each one presented, it looked as though both fighters were hesitant to engage. It got off to a painfully slow start in round 1, where a total of only 6 strikes were thrown. What followed were extended periods of inactivity, as both fighters appeared unwilling to make the first move. The slow pace continued for all 25 minutes, with each fighter throwing only a handful of strikes during their 5-round showdown. Although Woodley came inches away from a knockout in the final minutes of round 5, he was unable to steal the finish. And when it was all said and done, Woodley walked away with the majority decision win in one of the worst title fights in UFC history. Number 6. Israel Adesanya vs Yoel Romero. Whether Romero even deserved to be fighting for a title against middleweight champ Israel Adesanya was a question on many of our minds. However, given the excitement factor that Romero brings to the table, most of us were ready to ignore any blemishes on his record. Both Adesanya and Romero are two of the most dangerous fighters in the division. Out of their combined 31 wins, 25 of those had ended by way of knockout. So when these two were set to collide in the main event of UFC 248, the chances of a finish were high. What resulted was both a bizarre and rather disappointing fight. The problem was, both Adesanya and Romero continuously waited for the other one to make the first move,
so they were
which
both
resulted in neither of them taking any real initiative. While Romero covered up and refused to take the lead, Adesanya decided to play it safe and attack the leg of Romero. The exchanges between Romero and Adesanya were few and far between, and what few strikes did land were rarely followed up. The lack of activity was met with an uproar of boos from the crowd, which continued all the way until the final bell. While the judges weren't left with much work to do in terms of scoring, they awarded Adesanya the win in both a close and uneventful fight. Number 5. Rashad Evans vs Rampage Jackson. The main event of UFC 114 held one of the biggest grudge matches in UFC history between former light heavyweight champions Rashad Evans and Rampage Jackson. Not only was there plenty of bad blood during the build-up, the winner was also promised the next shot at the light heavyweight title. So naturally, the stakes were high. Objectively speaking, it may not be the worst performance fans have ever seen. However, I think it's safe to say that this fight didn't live up to the hype. What was expected to be an exciting stand-up war turned out to be a lackluster battle for position. A somewhat disappointed audience booed the fight several times, as Evans spent a good portion of his fight simply controlling Jackson against the cage, without doing much in terms of damage. Overall, so they Evans just kept dominated the first 2 rounds, whilst also surviving a vicious flurry from Rampage in round 3. It certainly wasn't the flashiest fight, but the strategy allowed Evans to earn a decisive win. In terms of pay-per-view numbers, the event did exceptionally well. But as for the fight itself, it was severely lacking in the action that fans had hoped for. Number 4. Gray Maynard vs.
I don't have nothing to say. Because, like I always tell you guys, these dudes are warriors. Like, the fact that they even get here to do that.
UFC on FX4 featured a highly anticipated showdown between fellow lightweights Gray Maynard and Clay Guida. Prior to the match, both fighters were coming off of a loss and were eager to get back into title contention. This was especially true for Gray, who had just suffered his first career loss at the hands of UFC champ Frankie Edgar. While both men have been known to put on fight of the night performances, this was unfortunately not one of them. There was a fine line between managing distance and simply avoiding a fight, and Clay Guida appeared to do the latter. The majority of the fight saw him constantly backpedaling in an effort to avoid exchanges with Gray, who was known for his heavy hands. The unusual approach even caused a stern warning from the referee. Meanwhile, a frustrated Gray Maynard actively tried to hunt Guida down, even going so far as to drop his hands and invite Guida to come forward. After a painful 5 rounds of almost no contact, Gray Maynard had at least shown enough aggression in the eyes of the judges to earn a split decision win.
So the other dude was just trying to back away and dodge the whole fight?
By the time UFC 97 took place, middleweight champion Anderson Silva was at the peak of his career. At the time, he was riding a 9-fight winning streak with all of those wins coming by way of stoppage. Meanwhile, Lightiz was on a 5-fight winning streak of his own and looked to be a serious title contender. While the fight seemed like a good matchup on paper, the reality turned out to be very different. Rather than engage in a stand-up battle with Silva, the submission specialist instead chose to fight off his back. The only problem was, Silva wasn't going to do that. Lightiz repeatedly fell on his back, hoping to lure Silva into his guard. Of course, Silva refused, and was content to keep the fight on his feet. Neither of them seemed keen to engage in the other's area of expertise, which was met with plenty of slow moments. After 25 minutes of very little progress, Silva picked up a unanimous decision win to secure his 5th title defense. It was by far one of the most disappointing title fights in the company's history. Number 2. TYRON Woodley versus DEMIAN MAIA.
My boy TYRON Woodley on here again.
This wasn't a main event. However, since the actual headliner between Jones and Cormier was overturned to a no contest, we thought we'd give it the go-ahead and add this one to the list. Following 2 razor-close fights with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, UFC welterweight champion TYRON Woodley was set to make his 3rd title defense against jiu-jitsu specialist DEMIAN MAIA. Given his elite grappling experience, it was no secret that Maia's game plan was to get the fight to the ground. Unfortunately, this plan would be completely shut down by Woodley. Honestly speaking, the takedown attempts were the only real significant part of the fight. Despite attempting a massive 24 takedowns, Woodley managed to stuff them all. Beyond that, virtually nothing else happened. While Woodley did manage to hurt Maia on a couple of rare occasions, he didn't really offer much in terms of offense. For the few strikes that Woodley did land, Maia landed even fewer. There was so little action that they even set the record for the fewest number of strikes thrown in a 5-round fight. It even got so bad that the crowd began chanting, "This is boring," during the final round. It definitely wasn't pretty, but in the end, Woodley was given the win by a unanimous decision. Number 1. Frank Mir versus Mirko Krokop. It may seem
That sucks. At least Woodley was trying to attack him, but the other dude, I mean, if you're a grappling specialist and you know you're going to get somebody that's a striker, I mean, I guess I would try to get him to the ground too, but that's not, you know, I'm still going to engage in the fight.
That I don't know, I can't speak on it. I'm not an MMA knockout fighter. Would make a list like this. But saying, if you've ever watched it from start to finish, then you'll understand why.
If you're gonna fight
the
him,
headline
you
of the
fight
UFC 119 saw former Pride Grand Prix champion Mirko Krokop take on former UFC heavyweight champion Frank Mir. Given their resumes, most would assume that they would deliver an action-packed fight. Oddly enough, both of them seemed hesitant to engage. This was specifically true of Mirko, who only landed a total of 8 strikes during the first 2 rounds of the fight. For the most part, Mirko and Frank were content to keep their distance and circle the cage, while occasionally clinching against the fence. At times, it seemed like more of a staring contest than an actual fight. Understandably, fans were extremely unhappy to say the least, and could be heard loudly booing during several moments of the fight. It wasn't until the very last minute that Mir connected with a devastating knee that rendered Krokop unconscious. But even that wasn't enough to redeem the first 14 minutes. Due to how badly the fight went, Frank Mir wasn't even given the knockout of the night bonus despite having the only knockout on the card. As always, if you guys enjoyed...
To be honest, I thought this video was also going to show us some of the footage, but it still was a great video. He still explained it really well. So shout out to you, All Things MMA. Like I said during the video, some of them not wanting to attack because they were kind of being cautious and playing on the defensive. That's smart too. If you know your opponent is a great striker and they got power, so they just trying to be defensive. You know what I'm saying? They all want to get knocked out, nigga. Are you mad at them? Like, would you be mad at them? Nigga, I ain't trying to die either. Anyway, that was a great video. Let me know what y'all thought down in the comments.